Next in line on the Staten Island Express, we have a huge Chevy Express van, 2500 or 3500 with the 6-liter, and it's having problems with the Stabilitrack. So turn it on. You're not really worried about tire pressures. But as soon as you turn the steering wheel, boom, you get the warning light. It says service Stabilitrack. Okay? So in our ABS menu, see what the code is. A C0710 steering angle sensor signal circuit plausibility failure. Okay? We can look up some code descriptions. Troubleshooter, ABS. Really handy of Snap-on to have this in here. 710. So we have the 5A steering position signal plausibility failure. Okay. So the EBCM supplies a 5-volt reference, provides a low reference to the steering wheel angle sensor, monitors the signal circuit, and 3 phase circuits determine the steering wheel position. Interesting. So this background information is key before you start, doing the diag. Just read up on how the system works. So I guess there's a 0 to 5 volt sensor, and then we have some phase A and phase B, and they go up and down as you turn the steering wheel. EBCM dynamically interprets the relationship between phase A and phase B inputs, determines the position of the steering wheel. Cool. And there's an index pulse that is only high when the steering wheel is centered or within a few degrees of the straight ahead position. So I guess there are 4 separate signals here, like an analog and 3 digital pulses. Alright. So we have 2 conditions for setting this DTC. Phase A and phase B do not correlate, or steering angle from the steering wheel position sensor does not correlate with the steering angle calculated from the yaw rate. Okay, so it also has an accelerometer in the Stabilitrack system. We disable it. Diagnostic aids. So we have some aids there. Talk to the customer. We don't need to do that. If the condition is intermittent, add some, I guess there's some terminal fretting on this sensor. Okay. So right now, our steering wheel position's at 207 degrees, even though we're straight ahead. The wheels are straight ahead. So I already don't like that. So let's look at the detailed data list. Data display. And we'll customize this. So we're interested in, I guess, yaw rate, accelerometer. This is the analog signal. Then the digital A and B. There. So I guess this analog signal should correspond to our steering wheel position. Now we're at 4.59 volts in the straight ahead position. Let's turn it all the way to the left. I'm still turning the steering wheel. So 4.29 is our min. And look, it's not changing as I'm turning the steering wheel until it gets to about here. Then we go up, that's straight ahead. Now we're going to the right, and we top out. I'm still turning the steering wheel, but we top out at 4.96. Okay, back to the straight ahead position. So I guess straight we're at 4.6. We went to a minimum of 4.27, maximum of 4.98. I don't know about you guys, but usually on a 5-volt sensor, it should go from 0 to 5, or half a volt to 4.5, or something like that. This is out of range, and our steering wheel position went from 176 degrees to 240 degrees, even though right now it should be at 0, or at least that's my assumption right now. So I want to pull up a wiring diagram, do some voltage measurements on the sensor to verify if the scan data matches real voltage, and then we'll see which pins are the 5-volt reference, ground, signal, and go from there. Alrighty, so on all data, here's our EBCM, here's our steering wheel speed position sensor. Now these pins are not labeled, but just by looking at the diagram, close the window a little bit, cops are out and about. So this guy here, 3 wires, that's our analog signal, because here we have 5-volt reference, a ground, and it's like a potentiometer. These 3 guys are the digital pulses, phase A, phase B. I don't know which one's which, they're not labeled, but what I want to concentrate on is this analog sensor right here. So on the sensor, pins 1, 2, and 6, gray should be 5 volts, orange and black should be 0, and the light green should be our signal corresponding to whatever the scan data is. So let's locate the sensor, hook up a scope, and just see how the signal varies as we turn the steering wheel. Alright, we're under the dash. So first wire I want to check is the signal. This light green, it's on pin 6. So we're measuring right here. And I have the scope hooked up to the light green wire, back probed at the steering wheel, the steering angle position sensor, which Keith tells me is already new. Right now we're at 4.6 volts on scan data. Now let's go to our scope. And we're at 4.6 volts right there, live data. And as we turn the steering wheel all the way to the left, we're at 4.27. Maybe we should change the scale here so it's a little easier to see the changes. 1 volt per division. Okay, there we go. Alright, so turn the steering wheel. See the signals rising to 4.96. So we can see that indeed we do agree with scan data. It's dropping. .27, straight ahead, 4.6. Alright, so scan data is accurate. However, I still don't like this signal. It's too high. Now, what do we check next? Well, the sorry for the sideways view. 5-volt reference is on pin 1, gray wire, and ground is on pin 2, orange and black. So let's move our back probe to the 5-volt reference first. Should be this gray wire right here. And the scope, we see exactly 5 volts. Nothing wrong with that. Finally, the ground wire. Oh, what the heck? 4.6 volts on the ground wire. That is a problem. This orange and black wire should be a ground in the EBCM. It is not. Okay, that explains our high signal for sure. Now, what's a quick way to fix this temporarily, just to trick the system? Jumper wire. Hook this to a good ground on this stud over here, and I'm just going to back probe right into that orange and black and make that a good ground. Alright, so on the scope we see now we're definitely on a good ground. And let's take a look at scan data now, see if it's happy. Okay, cool. So now let's turn all the way to the left. Negative 220 degrees. All the way to the right. 220 degrees. You can see the signal went from 0.25 to 4.75. That I like. Awesome. So let's exit out of here, reset these codes, shut the truck off, turn it back on, codes menu, clear codes, yes, okay, display codes, currently no codes present. Let's spin the steering wheel. Boom. Boom. Problem does not reoccur. Awesome. That's a great sign that we're on the right track for sure. Again, make sure we didn't set any codes. And our data should be showing that our steering angle is correct. So if I center the steering wheel, we see that we're right at 0 degrees. That's negative to the left, positive to the right. All right, so on the right track, we have a bad ground on this 5-volt steering wheel position sensor. This guy right here. Now it goes through 1, 2, 3 connectors to the EBCM. So let's start backtracking to the EBCM from here. So we're going to remove this jumper and see what happens to our steering wheel position. Did I fix it? Uh-oh. Let's see. Shut it off. Aha. Now we're back to 210 degrees because our ground, this orange and black wire, let's measure it again. On our scope, we're at 4.6 volts again. Okay, so let's see, orange and black wire goes to, first it comes to this connector right here. So let's measure it at this pin. Same 4.6 volts. Now let's measure it on the back side of this connector. Oh, I might be in the wrong pin. There we go. 4.6 volts. So we know the problem is not in this connector. So we have to go further. Oh, let's see the wiring diagram here. So that was X200. That was the first connector from this position sensor assembly. Now we have X100 and X101. So I'm going to look up the location of those connectors and do voltage measurements there. Alrighty, locations, connector locations. We're going for X100 and X101. Let's go back to our wiring diagram. So first X200, then X100, then X101. So whichever one's easier to get to. Let's see where X100 lives. Engine front. X100 is 5 and X101 is 4. 5 and 4. There's 5 and there's 4. So they're kind of on the left fender, I guess. Let's try to find these guys. 5 and 4. I see a bulk connector down there with the blue tabs, and then should be another one somewhere. We're looking for an orange wire with a black stripe, right? There's a big harness down there. So let me get a closer look at that guy, try to find the wire. Alright, so I got this connector a little out of the way. It's still a pain to get to. However, I think the orange and black wire that's our guy right there in the middle of this row. Let's see if we can somehow undo the clippy. Let's see, we're gonna break this damn thing. Okay, there you go. So I just want to undo this connector, see what's going on in here. Alright, cool. Orange and black wire, that should be it. That big pin right in here. And then this guy goes down to our EBCM, I assume, because that's under the truck. So just want to get a test light and see if it'll light up. Oh man, focus on that middle pin right there. Alright, test light from battery positive. Make sure it works. Sure does. Now let's go to this pin right down here. No beans. There's no ground there. But to verify we're on the right wire, we can actually put our test light on the other half of the connector. I can get to it. So that guy right there. Well, let me set this up and we'll verify that we can send current, through this test light from the steering wheel position sensor. Alright, super quick check. I got my other mini test light connected to ground at the DLC and to the orange and black wire on the steering wheel position sensor. And you notice the light is dim. Well, why is that? Because this light is also dim. We're running two 12-volt bulbs in series, so they're dropping about 6 volts a piece. Now if I disconnect this guy, this guy also goes out. What did that just verify in 2 seconds? That the wire is good all the way to that connector. We need to keep going. So we were just on, which connector were we at? Oh, stop it. So X100 or X101. We're on X100. We're good until from here all the way to pin 30. Okay, and I lost my open a new window. These gloves aren't the best things to use on a tablet, but they work okay. So where were we? We were on locations, connectors, X100, X101. So we were on 4, which is X101. Okay, that's good. That's further downstream. 5 is 100, 4 is 101. So we're actually good until right here, pin D3. So now we have to crawl under the truck again. This is the second Chevy I've been under today. And verify, go right to the EBCM, verify the ground at pin 16, orange and black wire. Alright, I have the big connector plugged back in, X101. Mini test light connected from now battery positive to the orange and black, our ground. Notice dim light. That's because this red wire here is connected to a ground, and we have our second test light in series right here. So if I disconnect this, it's on the orange and black wire right here on the EBCM connector. Our test light goes out here. So we just verified wiring integrity all the way from steering wheel position sensor, always go back to the diagram, all the way to the EBCM. Okay, and we can even go a little step further. We want to make that light bright, so we can just connect our ground jumper straight to the pin, and it's the third hole from there. That stays in, should be in good shape. Let's see if our light is bright. Bingo, bright light. So now the question is this connector good, and or is it the EBCM itself, just for that ground circuit? So what we can do is maybe plug this back in, see if the problem disappears. If it does, then it's probably a connector issue. We can spray that with, deoxit or WD-40 if we don't have that in the truck. So that's the next step. So if you notice, I just reconnected the EBCM. Our test light is not even remotely lit. We don't have a good ground down there. Now, that could mean one of two things. We also need to look up the main grounds for this module. What if the ground is bad? And then the sensor ground will also be bad. So what's the best way to do that? Wiring diagram. So let's see, let's go vehicle, diagrams, electrical diagrams. KBS traction control systems. Come on, all data. Anytime. It would be nice if they just had all these diagrams in one file here. So there's the EBCM, there's some ground powers and grounds. Let's see what else we want to look at. Okay, so page 1 is what we're after now. So zoom this guy in. Is it a bad ground? G300, pins 11, 28, black wires. That's it, only 2 grounds there. Now the rest of the EBCM works, is just that sensor ground on there. So, I don't know. We could just bypass it, I guess. Or if it's a module problem, then get a new module. So let's just verify these real quick with a test light, and if that's the case, I think we're basically done. All right, final check from pin 16 on the DLC. Jumper wire, good old test light, and just verifying these two main grounds, pin 1 and 25. Boom and boom. We're done. Needs a new EBCM and or bypass the signal return, you know, the ground wire for that steering wheel position signal. And with that, appreciate you guys watching. It's always fun on the island here, especially crawling under vehicles. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. As always on the island, it's not as easy as calling a module. The diagnosis was perfect until I said, is it the connector or is it the module? How the heck do you tell? Keith says it's the connector. So let's pop the connector open, spray down some WD-40, look for corrosion. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's right. Alright, so you can get this plastic off just by prying at it. The pocket screwdriver, and it should come off. Come on. There we go. If you look at this thing, get some light on here. I mean, it looks pretty mint until you look really, really close and like, yeah, there might be some corrosion on there. And the pin we're worried about is this third one from the side. So again, I tried to bend it up. I put a little bit of WD-40 on it. I did not bring my deoxit, which would have been perfect for this scenario. So now you don't want to have this stuff pool, you just want to do a light coat, and then for that pin, maybe drag your back probe through it. I'll be right back. Actually, I did bring it. I put it in my kit after the Mercedes video. Alright, now let's do the real deal. Spray all these pins with deoxit. Blow and dry. Put it back together. Plug it back in. Let's see what happens. Well, I don't know if that last segment recorded. The camera just ran out of battery. You know, it's been a long day. So the deoxit seemed to have worked its magic. Boom. We have no more codes. Steering wheel is perfect. The only issue here is in the straight ahead position, we're showing minus 16 degrees. And that's probably because when they replaced the sensor unnecessarily, they didn't quite install it right. But again, the truck will drive fine, no code set. And with that, before the camera battery runs out again, we'll thank Keith for the tip. It wasn't the connector. I would have gotten slid if I just called the EBCM like that. So again, learning experience. That's it. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.